enough, now it's more pressure. Shit, I analyze the time before the gesture, the quota measures. The storyteller surely pressures the artist.
What's good, everybody? DJ TMac here for another great hip-hop conversation. Today we have a representative from Upstate New York. He's a real spitter, man. It's not somebody that the song, you could just let it play once. You got to rewind it. You got to listen back a few times to catch everything he's saying. He's got a lot of projects out, a lot of great work, and he's here to talk about it today. We have YNX 716 in the building. What's good, YNX?
I'm good, bro. I appreciate you having me, man. I'm looking forward to the interview. How you?
Hey, I'm great. You know, out here in Colorado, like we were just kind of talking about, chopping it up a little bit, man. It's great, man. Doing a lot of hip hop stuff. Last night, I was actually at a cipher at this place called Mutiny Info Cafe. And, you know, there was a DJ, producers coming through, playing beats. It was just an open mic cipher, and people were just doing their thing, getting down, just all good vibes, real like community energy, community aspect here, like in Denver and Colorado. It's pretty cool.
Sure.
Is there like a similar, what's the hip hop scene like out in Buffalo? Is there a similar community aspect? Talk about that.
Ironically, I'm doing a cipher tomorrow at one of our hip hop platforms called 716 Live. So I'm going through. Shout out Jay He. I'm gonna go through there, and it's just been busy, man. For the most part, you know, it's a very consistent market here in Buffalo as far as hip hop is concerned. I do a lot of my networking out of Buffalo for the most part, but we do have a scene here to where they do different shows and things of that nature. I haven't done a show. The last one I think I did in Buffalo was a festival. So we have like different festivals in Buffalo that I partake in. But yeah, it's definitely a great scene here for sure. And you know what I mean. It's definitely something to check out as well.
Yeah, the past few years, I mean, Buffalo, specifically Griselda, you know, has shed a light on Buffalo and really, you know, brought some more exposure to the area, I would say. Before we like talk about that and like their influence in hip hop and stuff like that, let's talk about sort of your start in music, growing up in Buffalo. I want to know about it. So let's get into it. What was like your first maybe like music memory that might have like influenced you?
Right. So my entire family are they're singers. You know what I mean? So I used to be in the studio as a young kid. My mom and her sisters, they had a group. They went by the Motley Sisters. And basically, you know, that music's been in my blood all my life. So I started off singing, you know, adapting to, you know, my family traits. And then I transitioned into rapping once my voice began to change. And you know, that's pretty much the history of it. I started rapping. Like I said, I've been doing music my entire life, whether it's playing the drums, singing. But I transitioned into rap probably when I was like 13, 14 years old. And I've just been doing it ever since. I use it to vent. And like you asked in regards to growing up in Buffalo, you know, it was just pretty much I'm a product of my environment. So I utilize things that I went through to put inside of the music to be able to express how I was feeling at that moment.
Talk about your timeline of starting to write music. So you said about 13 years old, you tried to sort of transitioned into rapping. Talk about when you started writing compared to when maybe you started releasing music.
For sure.
Sort of talk about that timeline and process.
Definitely. So I began just writing to express. You know what I mean? So I would just write little lines down here and there. And then I started going to the studio at like 14, 15. So I would record with DJ Shay, which is, you know, rest in peace, DJ Shay. He was, you know, a big influence of Griselda, you know, for sure. And he took a lot of those guys under the wing. And as a young kid, I would bump into Benny here and there in sessions at Lilo Studios. But yeah, so, you know, I began writing and recording around the same time. I actually just went right in with it. One thing about me is that when I find something that I'm interested in, I don't waste time. You know, I just pretty much go right into it. So around the age of 13, 14 years old, I was in a group and we would write music and then we would go to the studio and record what we wrote, listen back to it, you know, and then eventually I began taking my own solo path. But yeah, that's pretty much was the process.
That's dope, man. So anybody who's listened to your music, especially that the project Sincere, knows that
Right.
Nas is obviously a big influence of yours.
Exactly.
Who
For
are
sure.
some of your other music influences? Obviously, your family. Talk
For
about
sure.
inside of rap, but outside of hip hop music
Yeah.
also.
So I would say a lot of oldies music, you know what I mean? Like 70s Isley Brothers, Bobby Womack, Al Green, you know what I'm saying?
A few of
The
your songs
Moment.
sample Al Green,
Yeah.
quite a few of them.
So like, and that's what I'm learning is that hip hop is heavily influenced by the oldies. So, you know, with that being said, I always go back and, you know, I'll listen to samples or I'll hear a hip hop sample and I probably already was listening to the original sample prior. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that's definitely my one of my influence. Kai out of Brownsville, he's definitely a big influence. Just the imagery that he paints when he's spitting the music. Um, I like jazz. I'm into a lot of different genres that allows my ears to hear different sounds. So you know there's some of the few major influences that I craft around for sure.
Yeah, man. The sample aspect and finding samples is really one of my favorite
Definitely,
aspects of his hip hop culture. Like it really
definitely.
is.
For
I
sure. I
think
just got into making beats. So prior to me making beats, I already had like an oldies playlist. So, you know, with that being said, I used to send it to producers like, yo, can you sample this? But it got to a point now where I'm able to sample it myself, man. And it's like it just makes my ear totally different after, you know, getting into the beat making for sure.
Mhm, mhm. So the first music that's on Spotify, it was released in 2018 or 19, I believe. I
Right.
have it written down some here. But
Right.
is that the first music that you released, or I guess you said you were in a group before that? So were you guys
Yeah.
releasing music? What was sort of the
Right.
process then?
Definitely. So I would say 2018 was my first official start in the underground and doing business wise. But prior to that, I was releasing a lot of music on SoundCloud, Dat Piff, and you know just physical CDs. So that was probably around 2015 maybe. But like I said, for the most part, it's just been I really spent most of the time like honing on my craft. But 2018 was when I really started getting into finding like a direction on where I wanted to go. So, you know, making it convenient for my listeners. You know what I mean? That Piff is not always convenient for everybody, but I know most people have Apple Music, Spotify, etc. So that's where I got my start, and you know, in releasing on all digital platforms.
It's funny, a few years ago, like 2015 and before that, that piff, it to me it seemed convenient. You
Exactly.
download it, you get the
Right.
MP3s, you throw it on the
Yeah.
disc or your phone,
Right.
such a different
Definitely.
process than it is
Right.
nowadays, right?
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Very interesting to see the growth, and it must be very interesting to be a part of it and
For
having to
sure.
sort of learn and to move with the way
Definitely.
things are
The
going,
time.
right?
Exactly. For sure.
Talk about your style a little bit more. Like I said, heavily influenced by Nas. There's a reason why we got Rakim on right now.
Yes, sir.
um talk about your lyrical style, and really staying true to that in these times.
For sure. I have a very versatile style. So my comfort level and is really storytelling. But I can get in any element of it. You know, I got boom bap stuff and I'm very elite at all of them. You know what I'm saying? Like I know a lot of people say I'm very versatile, but some people have strength in different areas more than others. I would say that I'm a very well-rounded lyricist to where anything you send me, I can, you know, I can deliver on it, you know, in the best form.
Your beat selection is varied throughout the projects. It's really not just like one sound or style. So that answer right there kind of
For
speaks to
sure.
that. So you sort of said you started taking music seriously, the independent scene, kind of going out on your own in around 2018. So
Right.
not too long after that, COVID hit, and that kind of shook
Yeah.
everything up.
Right.
So I'm sure you kind of had a plan and some things laid out. So how would you say that COVID affected your plans, if it did?
For sure. Prior to COVID, I was on like a small tour. I was in Toronto and then I did Montreal. That was February I want to say it was like the end of February, and then right after that, that's when COVID ended up happening. I got back. I had another show scheduled. I was supposed to go on the road and open for 38 Special, but COVID ended up taking place. So everything got canceled. Everything that I really had planned, all of the momentum that I had, kind of died down just because, you know, I just couldn't be on the road like I wanted to when I already had things available to go on the road with. But the way I utilized it was I adapted with it. You know what I mean? So with COVID, everybody's in the house. So a good portion of promoting music is online presence. So a lot of the celebrities were in the house as well. So I started to take advantage of like the live. A lot of them will go live every now and then, and I would get a chance to hop on live and maybe spit some bars or something like that. I got on bars on I-95. I got on Tory Lanez live. I got on Tory Lanez live and my whole phone froze. I was in the middle of rapping and then my phone froze. But it still was a good outcome because, you know, just people seeing me on it, you know, it was like, okay, well, yo, I just seen you on Tory Lanez. I got mad people hit me. I just seen you on Tory Lanez live, but I really utilized that time to, you know, figure out a game plan and how to adapt because nothing is going to be straightforward. So the way I adapted was thinking about how everybody's in the house. So if everybody's in the house, that means everybody's going to be online. So I utilized that to my advantage and I tried to hop on people's lives. In addition, I do all my recording and engineering at home. So that year I dropped like 4 or 5 projects, you know, just because I was just in the crib, you know what I'm saying?
2020 was a very busy year, you know, as far as Spotify goes.
Was, for sure. I mean, like I said, I'm already like a workhorse already, but with me just being, you know, nothing going on too much outside, I just figured, all right, I'll just take this time to build the catalog.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Talk about being a workhorse, man. You have a lot of videos too, a lot of visuals.
Sure.
I love seeing visuals from artists, you know. We talk about like times evolving and things changing. When we grew up, you know, music videos was a big thing, watching them on the television though at specific times. Now people can access and see your music video really whenever they want. It's very easily shareable, so it gets to more people, you know, theoretically nowadays. And not even theoretically, like we see the numbers. We see what numbers podcasts are pulling compared to like, you know, the national news and other national shows. So very interesting to see, you know, the evolution of that. Talk about, you know, doing videos. Do you work with all different videographers like in Buffalo? Do you work with one specific person? Talk about, you know, that aspect of
it varies. I was doing my own videos at one point, but then I kind of fell back. Like I'm pretty much, I do a lot of stuff in house. So like I do merch, I do recording, engineering. Again, I do the videos. So you know, I'm capable of doing it if I ever need to. And then I just started getting into beat making seriously this year. I always like dabbled in it, but it would never stick. But now I finally have like a system. But yeah, so for the most part, I use different videographers that's in Buffalo. Casso Beats, he's one of my main videographers. I got a few different individuals that I go to, but for the most part, it's pretty much who, you know, it's whoever I feel like can deliver the concept the best. You know, I mean, I can easily do it myself, but I just feel like I don't want to do everything, you know, all at once. You know what I'm saying?
It's a lot of work.
It is. I'm sure I'm sure you got to edit. Well, probably not. Well, it depends. Sometimes you have to edit straightforward videos. Maybe you want to add like tags or something like that. But yeah, it's a process with everything. But I figure that if I learn it, that's just another skill that I know if ever needed.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Talk about before we get into breaking down some of your projects, specifically Dusty Souls, which is one of my favorite projects from last year. People, if you haven't checked it out, I mean, you're gonna be checking it out after this interview. Classic. I'm gonna be putting clips in during this interview. Classic project. But right before we talk about that, I want to talk about the upstate hip hop scene, if we can, a little bit. So right before we got on air, I did mention that I went to school in upstate New York. So I went to SUNY Delhi and Oswego. Do you know where Delhi is at all?
I've heard of Oswego.
Mm-hmm. Oswego's
Yeah.
like right on Lake Ontario.
Yep. Okay.
So not too far from Syracuse, you know, had a little fun over at Syracuse.
Yeah.
Delhi is like in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, very
Yep.
isolated, like one stoplight in the town, like really not much going on there. So during those times when I was going to college in upstate New York around 2009 to 12, there was a lot of artists touring then. That's kind of when I started digging into hip hop more. Going into high school, the only artists I knew was like Jay-Z and then like Lil Wayne. I very much knew like surface level, just like what was going on. In college, I started digging a little bit more. You know, found Mac Miller. That was like a big influence on me, and he helped expose me to a lot of people like in the 90s and influences like De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest. But a lot of people were touring at that time doing the like college route. So J. Cole actually came to my school. I saw like B.O.B., Asher Roth, you know, just a very interesting time. All these artists sort of touring, building a buzz. Now there seems to be a spotlight, like I said, on Buffalo and upstate New York, specifically like in the underground hip hop scene. So one of the first guys that I heard out of upstate New York, he's from Syracuse, was Stove God Cooks. This was way before he was on Griselda. Actually, he went up to Sway in the Morning with Busta Rhymes and Lord Jamar. They were like, this cat is so good, like we just gotta like give him exposure, whatever we can to like put him on. Years later, now he's on Griselda doing his thing. So you know, he's bringing some more light to upstate hip hop. 38 Special, as you mentioned. I have a hat from a female hip hop artist, Bangs. She's out of Rochester, part of Lord Mob. Shout out to her. I mean, just talk about the underground hip hop scene in Buffalo, and you know, it's interesting. The lines are sort of blurring between the underground and mainstream, right?
Yeah, it's definitely thriving, and I would say that Griselda, I wouldn't consider them underground any longer, just because they reached such a height and reached such a
like a global platform
you know
and global eyes
like,
on them.
Yeah, so I would say it's still thriving. We still have a lot of different artists that are coming up, and it's just, man, it's beautiful to see. You know, that people are still appreciative of hip hop, and there's still a lane for it. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that it's definitely in good shape, and we just continuously, you know, just keep putting in the work for sure.
So you said you record, like mix and master everything like by yourself. Do you have any other sort of like people like or like a team or a crew that you sort of sit down with to you know, listen to the music, help sequence, you know, set up features, like talk about sort of people you run with, or you kind of just doing your own thing?
For sure. I would say my team is developing as we speak. You know what I mean? Got my boy Killer Ali. We we really
Salute
support
Akil.
one another heavy. You know what I'm saying? So he's definitely a big part of, you know, my team right now. Shout out to Analog Lady. You know what I mean? She helps me with a lot of like she does a lot of recommendation for me, show book interviews and things like that. So she does a great deal of help with you know, supporting as far as like decision making. She's heavy in the hip hop scene in regards to just you know, just being a historian. You know what I mean? So she knows, she has a lot of knowledge around it. So, you know, that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? In my mind and God, you know what I'm saying? That's pretty much my team right now until, you know, I see fit. Shout out to Gully TV. He's been supporting me a lot heavy. He's he touches base with a lot of the underground artists as well. And recently me and him touched base, and he's been doing a lot of, you know, just helping me, just little small things. You know what I mean? He got invited to like a listening party. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to make it, but just him having me in mind, you know, that showed that, you know, he's definitely rooting for me and what I'm doing. So I would just say the little pieces that I have around me, you know, is enough to keep me going, to be able to run like a team mentally. And you know, like I said, I'm just appreciative of the people around me and those that are supporting me early on, because they see where I'm going with it.
Absolutely, man. You got a lot of talent, so it's great, you know, that people are behind you, and you know, you're getting some more exposure, man. I love it. I love it. We talked about the line sort of blurring between underground independent scene. It's difficult to know what goals of certain artists are. I'm sure they have many different goals, but in terms of like maybe career goals or notoriety or exposure in terms of like selling, because you know the traditional route, or how it was 10 years ago, it seems like you'd release a whole bunch of mixtapes, try to get on a major label, build up to like a debut album, and you know then you're like a major artist releasing albums however often you do. So I always like to ask independent artists sort of what their goals are in the industry, and kind of what they're looking to do.
Definitely. Well, my first goal is financial freedom. You know what I mean? I just want to be able to live off music. I'm currently a full-time artist right now. You know what I mean, I don't work a 9 to 5. I was blessed enough to get an opportunity to where I'm getting paid to be an artist at the moment. So I would say my goal is to really get in the film. Like I said earlier, a lot of my music is storytelling. So I really want to get into getting my songs in the movies and series and things of that nature. And it's just a process. So I would say, you know, I'm just taking things one goal at a time. I'm just trying to come up with a system right now to where, okay, if I do merch here, okay, I can make money in this aspect to be able to keep the business going, and then eventually open up for other business ventures. So that's my ultimate goal at the end. Film, movies, series. Yeah, I just you know what I mean. Just taking whatever opportunities I'm provided with, and that's my ultimate goal. Doing music forever as an artist. Never happened to get a 9 to 5 and being able to live freely off of music.
Generational wealth, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely.
All right, Y.N.X. So you just mentioned Kill Ali before, so let's get into the album that came out last year, Dusty Souls. Man, you said it, classic project. There's so many different elements to this project, many different songs. It's a longer project than most independent like projects people are releasing nowadays, something you really got to sit with and listen to. So I'm glad that we waited this long to do the conversation. I did speak with Akil before the project dropped, and he we were getting some hints about it. He told us there would be some spoken words, some poetry on there. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting. And all the hints he gave us, it's interesting to hear how they played out through the album. So you guys released a couple singles off of it, building up the anticipation. It finally released in, I believe, July. Was it May? I believe May.
I think it was May, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
May of 22. So those first singles, like I mentioned, were The Search and Nostalgia. Great introduction. That might have been my actual introduction to you.
Word.
So
Okay.
this was like the first full project that I heard from you, and I really liked what I heard, man. It's really been in rotation since summer. I would go on walks in the morning, and like I said, it's a longer project, so it was something to really like vibe out to. Various beats, as I mentioned, and styles. It's soulful, it's funky, it's uplifting, but it's also gritty and grimy. You know what I mean? They bring it to those places as well. Illa, RZA, Primo's type production. Shout out some of the producers who are on the album.
Definitely. We got Sly Beats. We got Jamar Johnson. We got Perp Dog. He produced Darkest Hour. Let me try to pull up the list because I don't want to miss nobody. I want to get everybody they just do. We got Backpack Beats. We got AC Frazier. We got my man Jamie. He produced Anytime. Man, that's a few of them, man. We definitely got a lot of dope producers on there for sure, man. We got Casso Beats. We got Sylvester Stallone. He's an international producer, very dope. He produced Surrender. We got CG Beats out of Buffalo. He produced Spoken Word. Oh yeah, man, that's most of the producers, man, that I can name offhand, man. But I appreciate everybody that was involved, man. We definitely put out a excellent project, man. And I'm tough on myself, so for me to say that, man, I definitely feel a great I definitely feel great confidence in Dusty Souls for sure.
Mm-hmm. a very well crafted project. I mean, well rounded. It hits a lot of like checks a lot of boxes. That's a weird way to say it, but like it's a real full album. Something that's very, you know, you got to digest it, you got to sit with it, and you got to listen to it a few times. It's not no popcorn rap, not you know, it's not made to be that. And I appreciate that you guys do that.
For sure. For sure.
So when I interviewed Akil, he's sort of told me a meaning for Dusty Souls. But when I was doing some research in preparation for this interview, you had a little bit different of a response to what Dusty Souls meant and what you saw it as. So break down Dusty Souls, the title of this album.
Definitely. So with the title, we want to leave it open for perspective. You know what I'm saying? So my title of it and my perspective of it was like having an old soul. Like a lot of people say I have an old soul. You know what I mean? Just the way I maneuver, the type of music I listen to, my lifestyle. You know what I mean? So when you associate old, you associate dust. You know what I'm saying? So pretty much Dusty Souls is where that's my perspective of it.
I like that. I like that breakdown. You two, this was mostly or pretty much 100% recorded in different areas, or were you guys together for it at all?
Whole album, we pretty much went back and forth with it. You know what I mean? I would do a verse and a hook, and I'll send it over because he was in Mount Vernon at the time. He's been back and forth to Buffalo since we did the album. However, at the time of us doing the album, you know what I mean, we were just sending stuff back and forth. We have the same taste of beats too, so it made it a lot easier for us to be able to maneuver. And he would do a verse and send it back to me, and vice versa. You know what I mean? A lot of the joints, because I have my own studio, I went first on a lot of the songs, but when we actually finalized the project, we switched a few verses around. So like anytime the beginning, the intro track, I actually went first on it originally, but I felt like, okay, we have to even it out to where he go first, I go first, and then also with the hook. So if I'm doing the first verse, maybe he'll come in with a hook afterwards. So that all came after the project was done. But we moved real smooth with the project. I want to say we got it done within probably took like a month and a half to do. You know what I'm saying? And then we were still adding tracks. That's why so many tracks on it, because we kept coming across beats. Okay, this has to come. And then once we got all of the songs together, we were able to curate the project. A few of the joints didn't make it, but we were gonna do either save them for another project or eventually release it down the line. But yeah, that's my boy, man. He definitely opened my eyes a lot to the underground scene and just the wonders of traveling. You know what I mean? And traveling to do what you got to do, because he's a true independent artist. You know what I mean? He travels and he works constantly. You know what I mean? He doesn't. He don't really play. He don't play around. You know what I mean? So he'll do, chill out for a minute and then it's back to the studio. That's why me and him are able to, that's why we click so quickly. You know what I mean? And then we all have, we have similar mindsets as well.
When I was speaking with him about the project, he said he would bring some beats to the table. You would bring some beats to the table. I'd love to know sort of what are some of the beats that you contributed to the project.
Exactly. So Darkest Hour was a beat that I had from Perp Dog. He's a producer out of Albany, New York. He actually produced the Drake and Soulja Boy joint. We Made It. You know what I'm saying? So he produced that joint. So shout out to my man Perp Dog. So he brought that joint. I sent him that one. I did the verse on it because I had the first verse on it, The Darkest Hour, and then he came with the second verse. And then Soul Cry is one of the joints that he sent over to me. I think that's Jamar Johnson. So I think he just sent me it. Yeah, he sent me that joint. And then the beat just spoke to me. So I was like, I hear the deaf around the corner sitting close by. This constant living got my hopes high. It ain't no separation when the soul's tied. So I came in with that. And then them first few lines just made the whole joint really. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that joint he sent to me anytime. He sent that joint to me. Nostalgia, he already had that joint done. He was in the studio and he sent it to me. And then I think like 20 minutes later, I sent them the verse back recorded. You know what I mean? So that was what he sent to me. So yeah, that it's just sometimes when a beat speak to me, I could write a verse in like I could write a 16 in like 30 minutes. You know what I mean, if the beat is really speaking to me.
These days I write what the beat tells me.
Yep. Until I reach one. Yep.
I pretty much have a line from every song. So I'd love to, you know, just throw them out to you. Right before we get to that though, I'd love to, you know, keep talking about the building and the behind the scenes part of the album because I really love that aspect of it.
Sure.
So do you remember the first song you recorded, or what was sort of the inception? Rewind a little bit. What's your relationship with Akil, and what is the inception of the project? How did you guys come to the idea? Like, let's do this.
So I'm going to tell you about the power of music. So me and Akil, we never met. So this album, our first time meeting was in Miami, and prior to that we probably had like 5 tracks already. So let's take a step back. So I was recording. So Akil used to live in Buffalo. You know what I'm saying? For a minute, he went to school here, but we never met. However, we both did music, and we came across the same individual that also did music. So prior to us actually getting acquainted, we had 2 mutual parties that were referring us to each other. So like I did a joint at the studio, and they was like, "Yo, this is dude Akil Ali, yo, bro, you gotta check him out." And me and vice versa. So when we finally met, he was telling me, people was telling him the same thing. So like I knew that. I mean, I'm an independent artist, and me learning the business, I know how you can't approach everybody and expect them to just want to work. You know what I'm saying? So at the time, he was with Lord Mob, and you know, I kept that in mind. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna let him. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna continue to do what I'm doing, and I'll kind of just, you know, I'll tap in with him from afar. So I followed him on Instagram, and I think I added him on Facebook. So when I added him on Facebook, he started checking out my music, and vice versa. I was already tapped in with him. So he hit me on Facebook one day, like, "Yo, bro, your shit dope." You know what I mean? And like the industry is weird. So like he's not one of them individuals though. So that's why I didn't originally approach it, because like typically, like if you approach somebody, you know what I mean, it's like they're gonna try to tax you. You know what I mean? But our when we met, it happened very organically. You know what I mean? He gave me my process. Like, "Yo, bro, I like your music," and then, you know, I said, "Yo, bro, I've been following you for a minute. Your music is dope as well." So he's like, "I'm gonna send you something." So he sent me a joint. I think it was produced by I can't remember the name, but I did the verse on it. That was the first song we did. It didn't make the album though. I think that's for a separate album that he's doing. Aesthetic Beats. So it was produced by Aesthetic Beats, and I did the verse. I sent it back to him, and then from there, you know what I mean, we just got on the roll. You know what I mean, we just started cooking. You know what I mean, so I would come across joints, and then by the time we got to like the 4th and 5th record, we both clicked in our head, like, "Yo, let's try to put an album together." You know what I mean, and that's when it took place, and we never met in person. We just were, you know, we were acquainted through music, and then one day, prior to the album drop, I think it was like December, I went to Orlando to visit one of my close friends, my man Lee Titter, and he was in Miami. So I drove out to Miami, and that's when we first met. We listened to a few of the joints. I think Soul Cry we were listening to, and that's when we actually officially met. And then ironically, now that I say Miami, fast forward 6 months later, we opened for Conway in Orlando and in Miami. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy how everything happened full circle.
Yeah, that's really cool. I saw some clips of that. You've been performing quite a bit over 2022. It looked like you said, like festivals. Was that like a Buffalo one I saw you guys at maybe?
Yeah.
You know, both you guys are spitters. Both you guys up there on the stage. It reminds me of like Red and Meth. Both got the bars moving around, like got the energy. Like I love it. We got to get you guys out here in Denver. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
where's that DS tour at?
For real, we got booked to open for Method Man and Redman.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Meth was shooting a movie, so they weren't able to make it. However, they They had Mano, Jim Jones, Sheik Luch, Styles P, Ghostface Killer that came in placement of them. So that was a cannabis fest that me and him did. So yeah, it was fire. It was a dope experience. You know what I mean? We were able to network. You know, we were selling our merch out there, so it was fire, man, for sure.
Nice, dude. Nice. But yeah, we got to get you guys out here in Denver. There's a dope hip hop scene. So, you know, and then we got to do the in-person sit down too, as well.
For sure, man. Definitely this year.
Let's get it. Let's get it. 2023. Big things happening.
For sure.
So right before we get into like a little lyric breakdown, what were your initial expectations, maybe even before or like right after those first 5 songs are made? You guys are like, all right, we're doing the project. What was your initial expectations at that point versus how it actually ended? You said it took about a month and a half, but you guys just kind of kept building and adding to it. So, you know, talk about that.
See, me, I don't set expectations just due to the fact that expectations often lead to like disappointment. So I kind of came into it with an open mind, because this is just normal to me. It's like I don't overthink the music because I know this is my lifestyle. So like I kind of came into it like, yo, we both dope. This is gonna be something fire. But as I gradually started getting more into it, I realized like this is really like a classic album that we should really be proud of. Like I made a status like this album is gonna change my life. I want to say like prior to it dropping. And it, you know what I mean? It definitely did. Like I'm not making millions yet, but I'm already there. I'm already where I need to be. And when I start to look at things from hindsight, outside looking in, it's really moving. Like consistent shows, consistent interviews. I think this is my 3rd interview in like the last week. So like, you know what I mean? Although, you know, the millions aren't coming in yet, I know that it's down the line. I just got to continue to stay proactive and work.
Stay the course, man. It's inspiring. So, you know, keep doing your thing.
For sure.
All right, a little bit of lyric breakdown. Like I said, pretty much every song I pulled a little line. It's something that sticks in my head. So, you know, on the song Anytime, the first track, the only thing you love it is music and your mama. That was true shit. Yeah. I mean, you talked about music being your lifestyle, right? I mean, just always been a part of you, and you know, now it's like the real thing.
Yeah, so that was actually that's based off a true scenario. You know what I mean? So like my girl, she always say like if we, you know what I mean? You know, so everybody got they comebacks when you know when you're at odds. So usually she say you're the only person that you love is music and your mother. You know what I mean? So I based that verse around like a situation that me and her had like an argument, and pretty much that's what she said to me. You know what I mean? And I pretty much put it in the song. So yeah, that's it's real. And that's again, like I said, I started that joint off. You know, yeah, I just wrote that from a place of just expression.
I love it. I love artists putting the real life in the music, man. It's hey, we all live in real life. We all need something, and like you said, you use it to vent a little bit. So that's dope. But we're really getting a lot of that in this album.
Sure.
So the next song, I Remember, beat is crazy, by the way. But like I said, when I first heard this, it was on my walk, and I was just got a stank face immediately. Like
Ike Tyson, my fault. That's another producer. He produced that joint, Ike Tyson.
Yeah, that's like very RZA-esque. That's what it reminds me.
Yeah.
So the line I have from there, because nothing lasts forever, but forever when it's relevant. They did me dirty 20 years ago, but I'm an elephant.
Yeah.
Man,
yeah,
I mean,
that's like my favorite. That's one of my favorite bars.
Yeah, mine too, man. That one sticks out, and bro, you're hitting them hard from the beginning of the album, man.
Yeah. See, like what I say is like the first few bars is gonna write the verse in addition to the beat writing the verse. You know what I mean? So like when I was in a different mindset when I wrote that, man, like nothing lasts forever but forever. You know what I'm saying? When it matters. They did me dirty 20 years ago, but you know what I mean? Meaning I didn't forget, and I also have tough skin, because if you look up elephants, they have good memory and they have tough skin. And you have to have tough skin in music, and because people are gonna they're gonna pass judgment, especially if they don't know who you are. The first thing they do is resonate it. You know what I'm saying? They try to resonate you with somebody else to accept that you're dope because it's new. You know what I mean? Nobody really like people, especially old school hip hop cats. They don't like new. They don't really like anything new, especially like if you sound like if you have a similarity to somebody, they're gonna automatically think, oh, you biting that person, or you know what I mean? Which I'm just me. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite lines that I ever wrote.
Yeah, bro, that's a good one. That's a good one. I love the insight there too. The skin. I didn't think about that.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Tough skin. Hey. All right, next track, 4 a.m. This one's more like a funky one, like quicker moving track, right?
Yeah.
What his grandma got to say when he died and she got the grays.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one ends the verse as opposed to sort of at the beginning of the verse, right?
It's real. Like me, like, man, like in our community and our culture, we don't make it, a lot of us don't make it past the young age, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like a lot of mothers bury their kids. So it's like the grandmother is the one with the gray hairs, and this young individual, you know what I'm saying? You have to watch your grandchild go before you, and you got the gray hair and they didn't even make it. You know what I'm saying? Usually like gray hair, you think, okay, life is winding down. But damn, the grandchild, she got, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's another one very interesting.
Flipped it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's that's why, like, I know that I'm gonna be one of the greatest that ever did it for sure. It's gonna take people a minute to catch up. You know what I mean? Because again, like I said, it's a lot of not politics, but it's a lot of moments. You know what I mean? Everybody got their moments. But I know my moment is approaching. But like lines like that, even you know what I mean, those are lines that elite individuals say. You know what I mean? And I'm an elite artist, an elite lyricist, you know what I mean?
100%, bro.
Definitely.
You are.
Definitely.
Like, gotta give you the props, bro.
Appreciate it.
No arguments over here.
The broken righteous just stare in the dark. I play the part next to the dog. Reflection mirrors off. The fear get taught. It's a lost cause. You can't be a worker and play the boss. I was preserved in belly one. I took the words and grew my son as nourishment. I woke up this morning and bought myself a gun for nourishment. Don't give it the service. My verbiage is worded different. Observe the tension with a hawk eye. Every verse a pension. This lyricism mental prison. Gotta beat the system. Hate bled and left a new restriction. He come from the kitchen. The beef is just poison. I'm vegan exploiting. Rejoice that I'm poised. This rapping gave too many a voice. It's saturated. Now I'm acting in my movie of choice. It's Y.N.X. Love, buns ain't have